Hillary's worst nightmare are these court documents Fusion GPS paid off individual journalists and media companies, by Matt Palumbo for mpolitical.com. Those in politics paying for opposition research is hardly anything new or controversial within itself, but the connection between Hillary Clinton and the infamous discredit anti-Trump dossier that was published by BuzzFeed following the 2016 election is something else. In fact, that's why a Federal Elections Commission complaint was filed against her back in October. The nonprofit Campaign Legal Center filed a complaint with the FEC arguing that Hillary and the DNC keeping these payments a secret was a violation of campaign finance laws. According to the CLC's website, CLC filed a complaint with the FEC alleging the Democratic National Committee and Hillary Clinton's 2016 campaign committee violated campaign finance law. They failed to accurately disclose the purpose and recipient of payments for the dossier of research alleging connections between then-candidate Donald Trump and Russia, effectively hiding these payments from public scrutiny contrary to the requirements of federal law. More specifically, the complaint alleges that Hillary's campaign, Hillary for America, failed to file accurate reports in violation of the Federal Election Campaign Act, FECA USC 30101, and Commission regulations. And now the plot is thickening further. According to the conservative Treehouse, newly filed court documents confirmed that Fusion GPS, the company mostly responsible for the controversial Trump dossier on presidential candidate Donald Trump, made payments to 3 journalists between June of 2016 until February 2017. The revelation could be a breakthrough for House Republicans who are exploring whether Fusion GPS used the dossier, which was later criticized for having inaccurate information on Trump, to feed anti-Trump stories to the press during and after the presidential campaign. The 3 journalists who were paid by Fusion GPS are known to have reported on Russia issues relevant to the committee's investigation, the House Intelligence Committee said in a court filing. But the recipients' names, the amounts and purposes of those payments were either redacted from the documents that Fusion GPS filed to the U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia, or were not disclosed. To protect themselves, Fusion has asked for a restraining order against the House committee. It'll be interesting to learn who these journalists are, and we inevitably will. It's not like it's news to us, the journalists lean left, but these 3 will have their credibility damaged as it's revealed they had no trouble funding and spreading fake news. Last month, the Wall Street Journal's Kimberly Strassel announced that the Fusion GPS bombshell have just begun, and it's looking like she was right. When it comes to Hillary's role in the madness, things could get even messier. Earlier this month, she appeared on Tucker Carlson's show to summarize the most recent revelations as of that point. Her thesis is that Hillary Clinton paid for the sketchy dossier to be put together, then pushed it to the FBI, Sally Yates, who then used it to open a counterintelligence investigation, which was then used to begin wiretaps, etc. on Trump, while simultaneously reporters were fed information from Fusion GPS about the dossier and intelligence investigation to start the Russia conspiracy narrative using leaks within the intelligence investigation, which were created by the dossier. Kimberly Strassel, full one-on-one explosive interview with Tucker Carlson.
So serves on the Wall Street Journal editorial board. She's written extensively on this. Recently, she called the Trump dossier one of the dirtiest political tricks in history. She joins us tonight. Kim, thanks for coming on.
Hey, thanks for having me, Tucker.
So you called it a dirty trick. It was obviously opposition research. Was it, do you think, qualitatively different than conventional opposition research?
Well, that's a great place to start, because I think we do a disservice when we even call it a dossier. It gives it too much mystique. This is an Oppo research document, but of lower quality than even Oppo research documents. Normally, and look, all campaigns do this, but usually you dig up a driving under the influence conviction, or that you didn't pay your taxes one year, you plant it in the press, it makes the candidate look bad. This is a document based on unnamed, anonymous Russian sources, apparently. They've never been proven, a lot of them have been disproven, but then here's where they were particularly clever. They went, and rather than give it to the press, they sent it to the FBI, and then they briefed the press. And then the press was able to claim that this was intelligence that the FBI possessed, and it gave it some air of credibility.
So, I mean, this bundle of opposition research changed American political history, and not in the ways that it normally would, right? I mean, you're saying that this really is responsible for this chain reaction that's paralyzed Washington ever since.
Well, look at what happened. So, you know, the Democrats like to say, well, this document wasn't even used during the election. Not true. We know that Christopher Steele, who put it together, he's testified in court documents that he briefed the press in September. Yahoo News came out with a huge story saying that the FBI was in possession of intelligence showing potential collusion between the Trump campaign and the Russian government. The headlines were dominated by this. And the question that we still have yet to know is, we know the FBI relied on this in some regard, but did this document actually inspire the FBI to end up wiretapping a political campaign, which is no small deal, by the way?
So I'm unclear. I mean, I think that's right. That's the key question. That would be the most shocking effect of it, because that's so obviously corrupt. But I don't understand why we don't know whether that happened or not.
Yeah, well, the FBI has been playing hardball about letting House investigators see their file. Now, supposedly they've agreed to let them go in. They've started to put some things, make available to House investigators. But all of this should be, I mean, the thing that I think some people don't understand is that when you're dealing with the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court, it's not like you put in a request and they say no. It's a back and forth discussion. Somewhere in the FBI is a big file that explains exactly what the FBI was putting forward to the court as justification to go ahead with the tapping of Carter Page or Paul Manafort.
But I mean, the House oversees the FBI. I mean, I don't understand how the FBI can just ignore that. If I get subpoenaed by House investigators, can I just give them the finger and go to Barbados and just think it's okay? I mean, how are they allowed to ignore that?
Well, it's this separate problem that we have, that the House is having trouble more and more with its enforcement authority, and that is, in essence, what the Justice Department did. They said, sorry, we're just not complying with your subpoena for a while. They now appear to be putting some things out, but from what I understand, not everything that they need to put out. And here's the funny thing, is every time they have an excuse for not giving it, they say, well, it's because of Special Counsel Mueller. Well, if Special Counsel Mueller is actually doing this entirely because the FBI misused a dossier, all the more reason for House investigators to be looking at how this started.
It's unbelievable. I'm going to try that on my taxes next year. No, I just don't feel like paying. Sorry. I'm not going to pass this year.
Exactly.
Kim, thank you for that. That was really interesting.
Thanks for having me.
Will Hillary find herself in trouble after all this? Consequences, and Clintons still have yet to be seen in the same room together. But again, they're putting the pieces together slowly but surely. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And again, thank you so much for watching.